Welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel, to the XRP family. Appreciate all the love. Let's get right in today's update, see what's happening with XRP, and of course what we could be expecting going into Wednesday morning. Make sure you guys buckle up because this is a very informative update in my opinion. Looking across the board, we're starting to see a few handful coins going back into the green, but if you did watch my HBAR update that went live not too long ago, I kind of highlighted what has been happening with the broader market. If you missed that, no problem. Your boy Crypto ZX is going to cover everything in this update. So over the last 1 hour, you're starting to see the market, going back into the green. But again, nothing to be getting overly excited about just yet. But the price of XRP, $2.40, down about 1% in both Bitcoin and USD comparative side of things. Valuation, 144.2 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume at $4.6 billion. As always, just a quick disclaimer. Anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So we got some breaking news to cover. We've been talking about how gold has been on an absolute tear. But look what happened. Spot gold prices extend their decline to over 6% on the day, now on track to the biggest daily decline since April 2013. The long overdue gold pullback has finally arrived. We need to kind of put it into perspective. Retail was starting to go crazy. We started to see on CT, on social media, big lines, for people going and trying to get in gold. And, that's that FOMO feeling. We want to stay away from that FOMO feeling factor. And you can see for yourself, gold has seen a major decline. So is this going to mean that, we're really going to see some of that profit flow back into the equity market, specifically crypto? We'll see what happens, but we need to understand that lag between gold and BTC. Again, still a lot of time for the year of 2025 left. A lot can still end up happening. But take a look at this. As far as ETF flows are concerned, almost $500 million worth of Bitcoin were bought, and about $150 million Ethereum were bought. So, we're actually starting to see inflows coming in, which again is very interesting to see. But we actually started off on a really positive note. Yesterday I spoke about this on the channel, but again, Trump has come out and talked more about the tariffs. In specific, he says new tariffs on China will be going up to 155% effective November 1st, and of course market makers are going to step in, take advantage of this. And we did see pretty much the price of Bitcoin rebounding back to where it was prior to this major move towards the upside, which of course I'm going to get into a little later in this update. But look, Hong Kong approves first spot Solana ETF. Again, I know this is an XRP update, but we want to be looking at outside of the US and see how it's expanding worldwide. You're starting to see crypto being adopted worldwide, and this is one of the big things that we want to be looking at as well. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Shout out to the Soul family as always. But people have already forgotten, but 155 crypto ETPs are pending approval. Wall Street takeover is here, in my opinion. And of course, we need to obviously keep in mind about the ETFs as well. And obviously, there's a government shutdown. There's been a delay, but I think once things pick up, you're really going to see us hearing more about this. And as far as the timeline is concerned, we're pretty much at that timeline already. So maybe it does get extended into November. Remember, we were talking about this before we even entered October. I talked to you guys about whether or not we think that maybe October might not be the case. Maybe we do push into November, and that's where we kind of hear about these ETFs. Looks like it because, of course, the government shutdown is kind of putting a delay on all of this. But take a look at this. The Fed just admitted what we've been saying for years. Fed Governor Christopher Waller said it's straight today, Bitcoin is electronic gold. He described it as a store of value, something you buy and hold for appreciation just like gold. No yield, no promises, just belief, scarcity, and demand. What makes this wild is where he said it, inside the Federal Reserve at their own conference on payment innovation. For years, they dismissed Bitcoin as speculation. Now they're describing it exactly what, the way we always have. Bitcoin isn't a threat anymore. It's part of the system. And again, this itself is a massive news for the entire industry. And you're starting to see these big leaders that talking positive about the crypto space, which itself is very, very interesting. But Brad has also, put in a comment in regards to the Evernorth, news. But look what Brad says. Ashish and team are building something special with Evernorth XRP. We are now proud to partner with them and proud to join an incredible set of investors, including SBI Holdings, Pantera Capital, Kraken, GSR, and Ripple Works to support Evernorth as it participates in institutional lending, liquidity provision, and DeFi yield opportunity for XRP. What they're pretty much trying to do is, build an XRP treasury, which itself is big news, and we spoke about that. But take a look at the CEO of BNY Mellon's treasury services business outlines the difference between tokenized deposits and stablecoins. Reminder that BNY is serving as a primary custodian for the reserve backing Ripple stablecoin. So pretty much remember, when you're dealing with a stablecoin, there needs to be a reserve that is in correlation to one single also pretty much what I mean is, if there's one RLUSD stablecoin, there needs to be a reserve, $1 US dollar that's actually sitting in a reserve. And guess who's the custodian of that reserve? None other than BNY Mellon. Again, big stuff here. But take a look at this. The Federal Reserve looks into payment accounts that would grant crypto and fintech companies access to Fed payment rails. The Federal Reserve can integrate with Ripple. Remember the compliance aspect to it too. Regulatory bodies like the Federal Reserve will continue to set and enforce messaging standards like Swift can be easily integrated into Ripple as well. And this, of course, has been documented. Shout out to Smoke as always. And take a look at this. XRP remains the best performing asset among CoinDesk 20 consecutions in 2025, and yet people don't look at that. But let's take a look at what's happening with the price right now. Kind of zooming through this because I don't want to bore you guys too much, but let's take a look at what's happening. So as far as the dominance is concerned, you can see for yourself, dominance saw 60%, retested once again, but we have seen a little bit of a decline. But speaking about decline, you did see the dominance picking up a little bit, and that is due to the fact that Bitcoin obviously fell below the 23.6. But yeah, speaking about the 23.6, that's something we want to be paying very close attention to. So the price of Bitcoin saw a beautiful bounce, but like I said, the tariff conversations kind of ended the party. You could see the price of Bitcoin pulling back down below the 23.6, currently sitting at $108,223. But maybe we do get back in the 23.6, but that's the bare minimum level that we need to be remaining above, and I do believe we could reclaim that. So as of now, it seems to me like, this might have been the low, the 103,000, but I'm still not writing it off just yet because, of course, we're not where Bitcoin needs to be. But I think if it weren't for, the tariff conversation, once again, I think we would have actually seen that close in the 23.6. But let's take a look at how XRP reacted to, the Bitcoin move towards the upside. So XRP, actually went up to $2.53. I know a lot of people are probably scratching their heads and saying, why did it not cross, October 20th high? We need to understand the Evernorth announcement came out. I think that was kind of priced in, brought in a little bit more excitement. Hence, why we didn't really see that breakout above that key range. But of course, the dominance aspect as well, how the dominance has gone up higher than where we were yesterday. That's something we want to factor in as well. But we're still ranging within the 38.2 fib zone. Again, zoom out, take a look at how far XRP has come, what a lot of people tend to overlook. I like what we're seeing here, but of course, for me, the target is obviously around the $2.70. We want to break above that key range, and then we're back into the 23.6. But till then, we want to be focusing on some of these key levels, obviously specifically around the $2.54, which you retested like 4 different times since this major pullback. But I'll keep you guys covered as always. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Much love. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.